Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, my name is Frankie. Welcome to the USFL Alumni and Legend Show. I'm Frankie, your host from the USFL Forever YouTube channel, USFL Forever Facebook page. And tonight we are doing part 2 of the USFL Alumni Show, Alumni and Legend Show. Last week we had part 1. We had Bobby Hebert, Derek Holloway, John Corker, Matt Stanley. We had John Williams, Novo Bojovic. I can't pronounce that last name. But guys, today we're doing part 2, and we were hoping to get more people to come on, but of course, because of scheduling and stuff, we had some issues. But we do have the majority of the cast coming back from last week. And first of all, let me introduce my co-host for tonight. And I'm going to bring him in. Mr. John Turner. Unfortunately, he was my last choice because Dirty is either in jail or putting people in jail. And Dirty could not make it tonight. But I'm the real host of this show anyway, because the viewership goes up when I'm around. So, John, how you doing? I can't hear you. Don't know if you have your mic's not on. Hold on. There you go. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
You have one job, John. One job.
Yeah, I got a notification. I pulled the microphone closer towards me, and the cord came out of the back of it. So I guess it put itself on mute.
You had one job, John. One job. But that's okay, John. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
You're wearing your Jim Kelly Houston Gambler shirt. So I appreciate that. Guys, I'm waiting for Mr. John Corker to come in. He was on, and then he had some issues. But this is live broadcasting. That's the way it works. You're going to have issues. But John, how's everything going? And have you been enjoying some of the USFL games, the new USFL games?
Yeah, I mean, I moved from DC over to about an hour from Pittsburgh. So I guess the Maulers are my team now as far as this league is concerned. And we don't have a Washington Generals to talk about this go around. It's probably for the better, to be honest.
Wait a minute. You said the Pittsburgh
Federals.
Hold on. The Pittsburgh Maulers are your team?
Well, I live an hour from Pittsburgh.
No wonder they lost 4 out of 5.
Well, hey, they finally won a game, so that's good. Nobody's going to go winless this season. That's a good look for them and the league.
Well, guys, we have the majority of our guests already here. So, John, I'll tell you what. Let's let you do the honors. Who would you like to introduce first to come into our little room here?
Let's go with Mr. Stanley.
Mr. Matt Stanley. Mr. Stanley, welcome.
Welcome, Frankie. Thanks for having us. John, welcome.
We're doing part 2, and as you know, I wanted to do part 2 for specific reasons because we were talking after the show and we didn't get to a lot of the stuff. And so today I want to talk about your father, Jim Stanley, some of the stuff that people don't know about him, believe it or not, because I was confused as to what happened to his life after the USFL. So I want to talk specifically about that, okay?
Thanks, Frankie. Thanks for putting this together. So good to see everybody. I know everybody feels the same way after all these years.
I appreciate you coming on board and helping us out. Why don't you introduce our next guest?
We got Novo Bojovic.
Novo.
Hey, Frankie, how you doing? Hey, John, I'm upset, John, that you are not wearing that number 3 Michigan Panthers jersey.
Hey, I told him not to wear it, okay? Novo, I told him not to wear it. But Novo, thank you for joining us this week. We wanted to do a part 2. And so we didn't get to a lot of stuff like I was saying before with Matt. And so I want to make sure we get to the stories of those personal stories we never got to or people haven't heard of, okay? Who would you like to introduce?
Well, let's go with the Badger, the running back, he wore number 1 in with the Wisconsin Badger. But let's bring John Williams.
Mr. Williams, and Mr. Williams is not here. Looks like he's got connection issues.
Oh no! Well, let's bring Holloway. How about Derek? Is Derek around?
Mr. Holloway, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's happening?
Thank you for joining us for the second week in a row. I appreciate it. I know your time, you work during the day and you have a lot of things to do, like all of us. But I really appreciate you helping me put this thing together. And by the way, Mr. Holloway was the one who actually helped me with Bobby Hebert and John Williams. Mr. Hebert had a lot of problems technically, so did Mr. Williams. But it's live broadcasting. What do you expect? I don't make this stuff.
I sent John the link again. I sent it to his computer. He said he was all set. So I don't know. He got on late last time. He finally got it together. It looked like he got it together at the end of the last broadcast, but maybe he's having some more technical difficulties. But it is good to see everybody.
I'm sure he'll be back in a few minutes. He's setting himself up. But I tell you what, Mr. Holloway, why don't you introduce our last guest here, and let's bring him in.
Who is the last guest?
Corker. Yeah.
JC, what's happening, man?
It's always the offensive
John.
guys that forget about the defensive guys, right?
Hey.
Corker?
There he goes.
Hey, man.
JC, what's happening, man?
Let me tell you, the defense guys have always been calling, but let me tell you, when those offensive guys want to get a rest, they know the defensive guys gonna hold it down for a while.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I know John Williams will be joining us as soon as he gets his connection issues. And we had this same problem last week, guys. So, again, it's live. What do you want me to do? Go sue me. I don't care. But, guys, I wanted to start this week because we had a conversation after the last week's show that I had questions about. And, of course, Coach Jim Stanley was highly regarded by all of you. And so I wanted Matt to start out with. Matt, let me lay the cards on the table, okay? Because back after the USFL folded, and I believe early 90s, mid 90s, there really was no internet, okay? The internet had just started, but it's not like social media like it is today, not worldwide like it is today. And what I heard was, let's start from 84 to 85, there was a merger. Now, what most people don't understand that Jim Stanley, even though he was with the Michigan Panthers, the management, correct me if I'm wrong, of the Panthers merged with the Oakland Invaders without the executives really knowing. It caught them by surprise. That's what I was reading. And so Jim, obviously, everybody thought, well, Jim was going to go and coach the Oakland Invaders because you guys merged. But the fact of the matter is the Oakland Invaders already had their coach already lined up, which is Charlie Sumner. Can you take it from that point forward? What happened with Jim from the point where the merger happened and what he went on? Because he went on to a great career, a very good career in the NFL.
Yeah, so Dad started he was head coach at Oklahoma State, and John played for him there. A lot of our Oklahoma State players for Michigan played for Dad at Oklahoma State. And then from there, he went to the New York Giants. And then from the New York Giants, he went to Atlanta Falcons. And then the NFL had their player strike about, I will say, the fourth game in the NFL year. That was the year that the USFL was kind of starting up. And actually, a lot of people don't know this, but they tried to hire Dad at the Birmingham Stallions, and they wanted Raleigh Dodds at Michigan. And
Correct.
So being the opposite, Dad went to Michigan and Raleigh went to Birmingham. But anyway, so after Michigan, of course, we merged with Oakland. Well, Dad had 2 years left on his contract. I think stayed out 1 year. And then the following year, Lehman Bennett was at Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he and Dad worked together at the Falcons, and he hired Dad as defensive coordinator. So that would have been, 85, 86, I believe. So he was the defense coordinator for the Buccaneers. From there, he went to the Houston Oilers and coached their defensive line. Jack Pardee what became the Jerry Glanville was the head coach at the time, and then Jack Pardee replaced him. Dad was on both of those staffs. Jack Pardee and Dad were teammates at Texas A&M for Coach Bryant. So Dad spent about 8 years at the Houston Oilers. Buddy Ryan came in, I believe Dad's last year at Houston Oilers. And Buddy went on to take on the head job at the Arizona Cardinals and called Dad the following year to come join him with the Cardinals. And Dad spent about, I'd say 8 years as defensive line coach, and then spent a total of about 15 years with the Cardinals and player personnel.
But he had a great career in the NFL, and that's the point I want to make, because many people thought, well, he disappeared, like I was reading in some of these dumb websites, because again, the internet was not really alive back then. So tell me, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, his longest tenure was with the was with the Cardinals, and there's a story about there was a story about him and Kurt Warner. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, Dad was part of that. Dad's actually the one that brought Kurt Warner in to quarterback the Cardinals. Of course, Kurt came in and then took them to the Super Bowl against Pittsburgh Steelers, and they lost in a heartbreaker game that year. But Dad had brought Kurt Warner in. We had drafted Matt Leinart out of USC, and everybody thought he was going to be our quarterback. And Dad brought Kurt in, and everybody thought he was going to be a backup, but Kurt ended up starting about the third or fourth week of the year and took us to the Super Bowl.
And guys, all of you, of course, had a relationship with Coach Stanley. Tell us something that we didn't hear before. Tell us one of your own personal. I know that John Corker, John, you said that he was trying to help you save money, put money away, and you regretted it. But let's start with you. What are the other memories you have of Jim that most people don't know about, and the misconceptions that after the Michigan team was merged, that all of a sudden he disappeared, which was not true? Is John there?
I can see.
Let's go with John. Are you there?
Is that John Williams or John Corker?
I'm sorry, Corker.
John Corker.
Yeah. You're up, Corker.
Oh no, he's having some sound
problems. I'm not. I'm somewhat.
All right, let's.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
We're coming. Okay. So we're coming from a perspective of Coach Stanley after the merger had occurred.
Correct.
Okay. From at that time right there, myself, I was after the merger, I was shipped off to the Memphis Showboats.
Correct.
After the merger occurred, because I shared that a bit about Coach Stanley and I found after all day getting a chance to sit down and communicate what was actually going on at that time. And like I said, man, he blew me out the water with the real story. And all that time, I wasn't really a big fan of management time because I went off of after having 28 and a half sacks, I was looking to get paid. And so but word began to filter to me that the Panthers would do a sign and trade deal, and I didn't want any part of it. So I was kind of backing away. It was okay. I must be going to be out here because I'm not going to take a sign and trade deal because I'm coming off arguably one of the best sack seasons in football history. So I'm looking at this, my big payday, and I wanted to be in a position to take advantage of it. But okay. Come to my understanding, Coach Stanley behind the scenes packaged together that was going to protect John from himself, and no understanding what's going on with that. I don't think Coach Stanley could have acknowledged that to me at that time for whatever reasons, management reasons, and so, man, I was just so happy to hear, and that just solidified about Coach Stanley from the beginning that would just treat me like as one kid, you know.
Right.
And he was looking out for my, and so I was truly elated, man. And I'll tell you, with Coach Stanley, man, so many things have been said, but when you look at this guy, there's no way the people that he had gone to coach football, if he were not all as a coach and that could relate to the players, that they would have given him all the opportunities that they gave him, you know. And I mean, you're talking about some top-notch organizations, and man, Coach Stanley, I mean, to this day, you know, it was I've had some coaches, man, to where man, you just wanted to see them just jump in there and jump up and down and hoorah, you know. But that was never Coach Stanley, man. I mean, he was just like, hey, man, let's go do it again. Let's make it better the next time around. And so he always kept to the grindstone. And that way, you know, and looking back, man, that's something that with me today, man, it's like, hey, man, on my laurels, you know, I'm gonna keep it going, you know. And I same thing I tell my daughter now today. Hey, baby, you know, you were an A student last year. Well, let's go for the honor roll this year. Let's be the valedictorian of the school this year.
Always going to the next level is important. But let me ask Novo, your thoughts on Coach Jim Stanley. I know you had a story with him, but any other stories you can relate with us? Because, again, he seems to be like the missing figure of all the Michigan Panthers. He's like that mystery guy that no one knows about, even though he coached the team to the championship.
Well, you know, Frankie, I got to tell you, and I'm just so happy that we are talking about Coach Stanley. And one thing is, not because he gave me the opportunity. Obviously, I will always be thankful for that. What a lot of people don't understand and don't know, like we do know him personally. And one thing about Coach Stanley, he was kind, sweet, but one thing inside, the toughness that he had. But when you met Coach Stanley, he had that sincere look, and we always respected him because he wanted discipline. And I'm going to tell you the experience that I had with Coach Stanley, and I'm going to put John Corker on the spot because Corker and Larry Mateo, they were late, right? And just to kind of tell who Coach Stanley is. And so he suspended Corker and Larry Bethea against we were playing, I do believe, Chicago Blitz, which was a huge game. It was a must-win for us. And so anyhow, so I cut my jersey off kind of halfway, so I didn't have to tuck it in. And anyhow, so I didn't even know that this happened, that he suspended Corker and Larry Bethea, which, you know, on the defense, we got the two powerful defensive guys, and this is a must-win game. Anyhow, so he comes to me and say, hey, boy, he said, who told you to cut the jersey off? I said, Coach, nobody. He said, pack your bag, you out of here too. And so he wanted to suspend me as well until Matt and Adi Stein, our equipment manager, said, Coach, we can put it together so we get a shoelace to put the jersey back together, right? And so we shoelace the jersey. But one thing is, and thankfully, I had to kick that winning field goal against the Blitz. And but I gotta tell you, if we did not win that game, I think there would be a lot of people packing bags. And so he was so disciplined.
That was a chip shot, Novo. Come on, I saw that game. That was a chip shot. Now, if you
Well-
would have missed that, you need to go work for Walmart.
Well,
back then.
that's what I'm trying to tell you, Frankie. I might have been packing myself the bag and everything, but one thing is, Coach Stanley, he was all about discipline. He's all about character, and he really built that team, the Michigan Panthers. We were a bunch of guys that he trusted. He went to bed for us because he knew we would do the same thing for him. So we were a bunch of hound dogs, if you want to call us, that we were not afraid to play anybody at any time. And like I said, we were full of character. And the discipline that he showed us, and a lot of words that Coach Stanley gave us, and we're still living with those words that he gave us, and the way he disciplined us, because he cared for us just like we were a bunch of his kids. And he cared for us to be successful and to be doing good things in life.
Well, we have Mr. Williams back, John Williams. Welcome back, John. But we lost Mr. Holloway. So,
Hey, what's going on, John?
Mr. John, can you tell us about your relationship with Coach Stanley? And we do have Mr. Holloway coming back in. Any stories you can relate to us about Coach Jim Stanley?
He was a guy of toughness, I would say. I remember one time we had camp and we did blitz pickup. This wasn't the same time like the last one, but this was blitz pickup, and he just kept on having us do it. We were going against the outside linebackers, just straight outside linebackers and us. And he was kind of teed off at the whole thing because he wasn't getting the results that he wanted. Well, John Corker and I went against each other a couple of times. And so we just smashed each other. And at the end of it, he goes, John Corker, John Williams, you guys can go. He let those other guys stay.
Would you say he was a disciplinarian?
Oh, yes. He was a hard-nosed guy.
And Mr. Holloway, we got you back, so thankfully we do. What did Coach Stanley mean to you? I know you talked about the last time a story. Tell us anything else that we don't know about Coach Stanley, because again, he's a missing figure in the Michigan Panthers locker room. Like, people don't know much about him. That's why I'm glad Matt is here to explain a lot of stuff that he did after his USFL career, which was a great NFL career. What was your relationship, a story that you can relate to us?
Well, I've told you a story before, but I'm going to tell it again. But first of all, I didn't know Coach Stanley. I didn't know anybody on the Michigan Panthers when I first got there. Being drafted so late, Coach Stanley gave me an opportunity to play, and that's what I'm grateful for. He just gave me opportunity, being 5'8", 165 pounds. He gave me an opportunity to play. He saw that I had talent, and Coach Stanley was the man. He was a quiet disciplinarian. To me, that's what I thought of him. He didn't really say too much sometimes, but you kind of knew what he was thinking. You knew that the job that he wanted you to do, the job that he expected you to do. He practiced hard now. He definitely didn't want no mistakes out there on the field. We definitely practiced hard.
But he relied on you after AC went down in that injury in '84. He relied on you a lot
with AC.
Yeah, and I was up to the challenge. I was, obviously I hate that AC went down. I think we would have had a better chance, to play in that second championship game as well. But injuries happen. But he did rely a lot on me, and I think I stepped up to the challenge, and all the rest of the team stepped up to the challenge because once again, AC was a big part of the offense.
Correct.
So, but the other story is, I think I told you guys that after we actually won that championship, you got to figure I'm from a small town, and when I'm in a small town, there's actually 3 guys that I went to high school with have actually played in the NFL. There was Deron Cherry. You guys may or may not know Deron Cherry. He used to play safety for the Kansas City Chiefs. He was number 20. He played in like 7 or 8 Super Bowls. Not Super Bowls, Pro Bowls. And then a guy named Kelvin Harmon that came behind me, maybe about. Well, he played for Washington maybe about 3 years ago, and myself. So once we won that championship game, they decided to throw a big Derek Holloway day, for winning the championship. And I invited Coach Stanley, and Coach Stanley flew into Philadelphia, came and stayed in the hotel, participated in the parade, rode on the back of the car with me. And Matt actually has that. I sent that picture to Matt again because it came up on my Facebook feed. So he commented on it again. I think it was yesterday or today, where me and Coach Stanley are riding in the back of this car. Now, I hadn't had any other head coaches to do that. I played for Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz was a lot different than Coach Stanley. Lou Holtz, he'll cuss you out and yell up and down the sidelines. But I think our team took on the personality of Coach Stanley. We was never too far ahead, and we was never too far behind, and we never panicked. Whatever the case may be, we wasn't going to panic at all. We was going to get back in the game, or we was going to hold them off or do whatever we need to do to win. So that's my thoughts of Coach Stanley. I miss Coach Stanley a lot. Like I said, he gave me an opportunity to play, and then I think from him giving me an opportunity to play in the USFL, I had an opportunity to play in the NFL as well. So I thank him for that. And I always see Matt running around. Matt was, how old were you, Matt, when we were with the Michigan Panthers?
It's about 15 or 16, 15, 16, I think.
15 or 16. Hey, wherever Coach Stanley was, you could be sure Matt was going to be right next to him on the sidelines with the water, with a towel, whatever the case may be. Wherever his dad was, you was going to see Matt.
And speaking of Matt, Matt, just real quick, you can go ahead and say what you have to say, and then I'll ask this.
This is for his players. I think they'll get a kick out of this. But I told you he played for Bear Bryant in college, right?
Correct.
And they made a movie out of it called The Junction Boys. He never would talk about it with me. But there's this book here that I got. And I was reading this to Novo after we hung up the other day. And I got to read this because the players are going to get a kick out of this. A different side they've never heard of. So in this book, it says, I'll just read it real quick. It says, some of the Aggie footballers like to get snot slinging drunk and start fights all over town. Coach Bryant had recently dispatched Billy Pickard again to Fort Shiloh with an envelope filled with cash to pay for broken windows and torpedoed walls. Bryant tried to look the other way, especially when the fast-living player happened to have talent. For instance, Bryant greatly admired Jim Stanley, one of the $1 Million Boys, and considered Jim the toughest player on the team, him and Jack Pardee. Jim led the Aggies in 15-yard penalties for late hits and poking opponents in the eyeballs, but Bryant rarely complained. It always seems that boy gets his 15 yards worth, he said. Several players were throwing back Lone Star pitchers one night at Fort Shiloh when Stanley asked a young woman to dance. She happened to be the date of an A&M cadet, but Stanley didn't care and danced with her anyway. When confronted by the cadets, Stanley invited them out to the parking lot to fight. Several other cadets followed. From across the bar, a group of Aggie footballers watched Stanley lead contingents through the door. Dennis Gary and Weasel Watson, Jack Pardee, and Lloyd Hale thought nothing of it. Finally, Pardee sauntered outside to check on his teammate and returned a few minutes later. I got there too late, he told the others. Jim's already whipped all 12 of them.
But see, these are the stories, guys, that we never hear of. And so thank you for sharing that, Matt. I really do appreciate it. I get a kick out of these stories. And that's what I wanted to bring out tonight. Before I go to John Turner with his questions, Matt, one last question for you as far as your dad was concerned. Why he was a defensive coordinator or defensive line coach? I mean, he was in the NFL for many, many years. why didn't he ever get an opportunity to get a head coaching job, or did he get a head coaching job opportunity and he turned it down? What actually happened with your dad?
Well, he actually had 2 opportunities to be in the NFL. The first one was with Green Bay Packers. Most people don't know this, but he wasn't let out of his contract to go there. And then the second time, I was in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and Tom Benson called, and I answered the phone. He's the owner of the Saints, and basically said, "We want to hire you. You're the coach we want. We want to hire a GM Monday, announce you on Wednesday." Mm-hmm. And so that Monday, they hired Jim Finks, who happened to be the best friend of Vince Lombardi, who was our GM at the time. And so they convinced Vincent to hire Jim Mora. But Dad had that job as well.
Again, Jim Mora got hired as a head coach twice in the NFL. I just was wondering, since Coach Stanley was there for 13 years, I believe. I was just curious why he didn't get that opportunity, if he did and he turned it down, or because of contract obligations.
Well, here's the deal, Frankie. And long story short, Dad wasn't going to play politics. Dad was going to do the right things. He was going to stand up for his players, do what he thought was right, not what was best. You know, Dad was going to be the first one to take the blame when we lost and give the credit to the players when we won. And he wasn't going to play politics with management. And I think that's what kept Dad, in a nutshell, from getting a head job in the NFL.
Thank you so much for clarifying that.
He wasn't going to play around with them shoe clerks. Coach Stanley don't like them shoe clerks, boy.
And Frankie, you know, there's a lot of politics from coaching perspective, from the players' perspective. I tell you, it's there's no question. There's a lot of players that did not make it to the big leagues because of the politics.
Novo, don't get me started with the NFL BS, okay? I mean, just and for the sake of time and not me blowing up about the NFL because I can't stand it, I'm going to go to John Turner. John, go ahead with your questions, and thank you for being patient.
I guess I got to aim this one at Matt because he probably had a little bit more inside information, being the son of. The Panthers, you guys are getting 40,000 people per game showing up at the Pontiac. And when we talked about the merger in the very beginning, what was your father's immediate reaction to that? And was it an angry, a disappointment thing? And kind of what led to that? I mean, to get 40,000 in the Pontiac every week, it seems like you guys would have been in great shape. What really led to that move in general?
Well, I'm not sure. You're talking about, was he disappointed he didn't go to Oakland, or are you talking about the merger itself to Oakland? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, to back-to-back, you guys are coming off a triple overtime. I mean, just dagger.
Well, I think what happened, if I recall right, John, that Donald Trump wanted to move to the fall. Okay.
Yeah. Don't get me started with that one.
We're going to play in the spring. Well, Al Taubin, our owner, was good friends with Ford, the Detroit Lion owner, and he didn't want to compete head to head with his friend Ford. Okay. So that's when that went south, and they merged with Oakland, and he wasn't going to compete with his friend Mr. Ford of the Lions. As far as Dad not going to Oakland, I don't think he was too much surprised. In a long story short, we had just won the USFL championship. We go to camp. Bobby holds out. Another guy that wasn't even involved with our organization comes in with a guy with a last name but hadn't really been around football, if you want to know the truth. And then he started holding out, with Bobby's, and ended up with Bobby. Bobby had a long-term contract, and all he did was shorten his length of his contract. Didn't give him any more money, and he started, John didn't get paid. A lot of things went on. And one of the things that was said last Monday, I think Frankie or somebody brought this up, was the 84 team where y'all just worried about your finances and getting paid and all that.
That was me.
Okay, that was Frank. I just wanted to kind of respond to that, and the guys can disagree or disagree with this team. This team, not at all. This team was made of characters, and they had too much character for that. I don't think for one second that this team had a bad year because they were worried about getting paid. This team, when they were too proud, had too much character, too much pride. I say the reason that we didn't win it the second year is injuries. People just talk about Carter, and Holloway being the guy next year. And Holloway was just as important the first year as he was any year. We used Holloway the first year more than anybody. Carter came in late, to camp and signed late and all that. So this team right here, I'm telling you, we win it again because we had Dornbrook went down in Arizona 2 days. It was me and Whit Taylor were the only 2 quarterbacks in camp. We had Miller was got hurt and Abear was holding out. But we came together and we lost Greenwood, we lost Dornbrook, we lost Carter, we lost 5 or 6 all pros. And honestly, we were starting to get them back. And I think we won it the second year with this team. I don't think it had anything to do with them.
Well, I want to go into something very important because you guys.
I would like to say something
Sure,
along with what Matt was saying. I remember walking with your dad. I think it was the day before the game, and I told him, well, we don't have Carter, and when we win, it's going to make it all the more better. Because I was all in, and I'm quite sure everybody else was too.
Well, let me do this, guys, real quick, and as I get back to the full screen. I'm really curious, John Corker. I'm going to show a couple of highlights here. And first of all, let me just show this highlight real quick.
5 seconds on the play clock. There's Easley, the fullback, and Easley gets inside the 10 with John Corker hanging on along with Ronnie Padgett. Second down.
Good job by Easley as he wanted to come off the right side. You see that everybody tends to overplay a little bit from the backside. 57, John Corker coming in to hit him.
Now, let me finish that highlight and let me show this one as well. This one's a little longer, and I need you guys' opinion, especially you, John Corker, concerning the 2 running backs that you had to go up against in the USFL, which was Mike Rozier. He was not in that clip, but I want your thoughts on him and your thoughts on this guy.
Now they know they can give a little bit because it was 2nd and 18. Now it's 3rd and 12. The linebackers can still give a little.
Victor Hicks, who was having a fine year before he got hurt, is ready to play, but Bowers had a good game last week. He's having a good game tonight. Scott puts it up, and there's Herschel running under it, and it's caught at the 7-yard line. Walker's speed, talk about Olympic speed. He just simply caught up to the ball. A 36-yard play.
Jim, you hit it right on the head. Herschel Walker comes in motion and goes straight up the field, and he breaks what they call a corner pattern. He's got Greenwood on him and Arnaud on him. Now watch this, Herschel. You're right. He just outruns the football and catches the ball.
2:19 and counting, first quarter.
With a 3-point lead, Jim, when you get inside the 10-yard line with a guy like Herschel Walker running the football, and Carthen, I'm not taking anything away from him, but it is a 4-down situation. You don't think field goal here, you think touchdown.
Inside the 3, Kent Hall ready to snap the ball to Scott. Tight end in motion. Herschel Walker straight ahead into the end zone, touchdown. Walker has scored his 10th touchdown of the year.
Okay, guys, I wanted to show those 2 clips because number one, Pittsburgh had Mike Rozier, even though I didn't have him in the clip, the first clip, and then the second guy, Herschel Walker. Let's start with John Corker. What was it like to go up against those 2 guys in '83 and '84? Because Herschel had a horrible team in '83. Rozier also had a horrible team. But go ahead.
Mike Rozier, Rozier was a very, very Mike Rozier up at Nebraska. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's the game I got injured in. Rozier broke free to the outside and went and scooped him up. And one of my defensive linemen fell on top of me and got me banged up. That's when I injured my knee. It was my junior year that was going so well for me. And so I've always admired Mike Rozier for his tenacity and his toughness as a running back. Thought that he should have played quite a few more years in the NFL. And Herschel Walker, man, I've always marveled at the speed. You know, that guy when he first. I remember a screenplay that we ran that was run with the Generals, and I think one of our fastest defensive backs had the angle. It was a screenplay. I got in the trail technique real fast on the play, and knew that I had no chance of catching him. But as I look up, I see like our fastest man with the angle on, Herschel Walker. And I was like, yeah, we get this guy, you know. Man, the next thing I know, when that angle was reduced, Herschel Walker had about a 10-yard advantage on our fastest defensive back. And I was like, whoa, that speed, I had never seen that kind of speed on the field before. I mean, and I've seen some pretty good running backs with Billy and Hancock, but I saw Herschel break down that sideline. Man, I'm telling you, it was lights out. He was one fast cat, you know.
And
but,
John,
you know,
John,
my thing with
go ahead. Go ahead, Corker.
Go ahead. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. When Herschel down that sideline untouched like that, my thing was, man, I just can't wait to get this guy up the middle to where he won't have anywhere to go, and it's going to be me and him. And that happened on a 4th and 1, I remember, in the game, and it was me and Herschel head up, and it was a play for no gain. And I was like, oh, okay, now you know where I am. So it's like, it was pretty good. But yeah, he was a really great running back, man. That guy, I tell you, he was fantastic. Both of those guys were really good running backs. And like I said, you know, I thought Mike Rozier played more years, whatever reason that it didn't have. But you know, Herschel's story with him playing for so many different teams, man. He went on to become just what we were seeing there in the USFL. And, you know, and going back, man, you just look around, man. I mean, the guys are saying this and saying that about the USFL, but if you look at the talent, the fan head count, man, that league, you couldn't have been more viable than we were as a league. And you know, I know, and I see, that's why I can't understand why this league this year has not reached out more to the former players, if nothing else, to get the fans to understand, hey man, to give these other guys a chance, and it's an opportunity for them to play some football and get some recognition, to be able to one day, you know, suit it up out there on the big field. And that's what it's all about, man. And I think that you know, I'm not that good of friends with Moose Johnson. I know the guy, but you know, I like to put a bug in his ear, you know. As far as
Corker,
that
that's a conversation for another time, because that's a sore subject with the new USFL right now.
Okay.
But
Frankie,
yeah.
Frankie, I got to give you a little story here, because I know John Williams and Holloway can't talk about Herschel. They did not have to deal with Herschel, but I did. And
of course, Novo, you did. Of course.
And Frankie, I know this is going to put a smile on their face, because here's Herschel Walker, right? And we just went up by 2 points. And Coach Stanley comes to me and said, Bo, whatever you do, do not kick the ball to Herschel Walker. And this is with like 30, 40 seconds left on the clock, so we can't squib kick it, but I tried to pin it in a right side. So I kicked it all the way to the corner. Well, Herschel gets to the ball. And here comes Herschel. And he's coming through, and I see the crease. So I'm thinking all I have to do is push Herschel out of bounds.
Oh, sure.
But
Easier said than done, dude. Easier said than done.
But I gotta tell you, Frankie, Herschel turns, and I'm thinking I put a good hit on Herschel. And before you know it, I got Greenwood that tackles him from behind. So Greenwood gets to him, and we stopped him. Otherwise, he was gone.
Novo, you were 105 pounds soaking wet.
I know, but Frankie, I was thinking that I put a lick on Herschel Walker. Before, when we were watching the film, usually you watch the team film and all that stuff the day after. And when we were watching that film, I bounced like about 5-6 yards backwards. He ran me he just ran through me. And that was not much of a tackle there.
A stiff wind can run through you, man. But John Williams, I need to ask you something, and Mr. Holloway too. When there's a big star running back, the first thing people say, sports fans, is, okay, who's the other running back on the other team that's going to answer the call, right? Did you feel that pressure when you went up against Herschel, knowing that, hey, yeah, we had Ken Lacey, that's fine. But did you feel that pressure going into the game saying, oh, man, Herschel's going to show us up. I got to do something?
Well, I didn't feel any pressure. I had my job to do. And my job was to block and run hard. And I remember that game, Corker, that was Clarence Chapman chasing him. That's who that was. And I scored 3 touchdowns that game. So I did what I was supposed to do.
You would mention that. I scored 3 touchdowns, guys. Just remember that. Mr. Holloway?
Yeah, Al Bundy.
Yeah.
When you went up against Herschel, did you feel any pressure to, hey, I gotta produce, or it's just another game?
It's just another game. Herschel didn't mean anything to me. I wasn't gonna be out there trying to tackle him. So,
but he was on offense. He was a wide receiver. He was a kick returner. How did you feel?
We had to leave it to our defense. We had to leave it to our defense to do their job. My job was to go out there, catch passes, do some blocking on the outside when John come around the corner. And like John said, I went out there and I did my job. I wasn't worried about Herschel. Not at all.
John, go ahead with your questions. I'm sorry.
I got a couple of them.
Go ahead.
Mr. Corker, when you went down to Memphis, you guys had like 40 sacks or some crazy business in that 85 season. And you got to line up right behind somebody named Reggie White. And he eventually kind of became one of them larger than life characters. You know what I mean? It was almost one of them guys that I always thought was like a little bit bigger than the game. He was just, was he as engaging and a likable of a guy in the locker room? And you guys had guys producing sacks all over that defense, and it took you late into the season there, obviously. How was it? You had to leave Michigan, but you go, well, I get to play but with this guy here and a couple of other pretty good guys on defense there. Was it a healthy teammate competition? You had about a half a dozen sacks. He had double digits. You know what I mean?
Hey, John, this is only an hour show. Come on, man.
Sorry. Was he an engaging guy back then, or did that kind of grow into him?
Come on, Mr. Corker, go in.
Hey, no, Reggie, let me tell you, I had a chance to play with Reggie White. Let me share a little story with you. So I get there. They got a parade for Big John down on Bill Street. I got my top hat on. They give me a cane, the key to the city. and it's like the sack man is in town. And so I'm gonna be playing with Reggie White, right? So and then word filters down. They said, man, this guy is looking for like $4 million. And so I said to myself, I said, no way they could play this guy $4 million because I'm the sack man, you know? and so we get out there and we suited up with Reggie. And that first defensive play that Reggie White was involved in, he had the offensive guard and the offensive tackle trying to prevent him from rushing. Reggie, in one swipe, Reggie just cleaned out the offensive line. And I mean, these guys were down on the turf. And I'm saying to myself, let me talk to man to pay this guy. I mean, it only took one play. Man, Reggie was his friends that I so and as a player. I mean, at that team, that Memphis Showboat team, man, it was stacked. Defensively, we were stacked, man. We really had a good defensive team there. And like I said, man, to be honest, did not want Michigan Panthers. But a chance to go down there because you see the Memphis Showboats situation happened like this. I was actually going down to Tampa Bay to become a Buccaneer. Okay, the 2 days before the NFL was the USFL was allowing contracts to be signed. My agent told me and said, "Hey man, Memphis wants to talk to you." I said, "No, Pete, I've already taken the test. My physical in Tampa Bay, I got my jersey number. These guys are going to give me like 150 grand the last 2 games of the season." And so next thing I know, the Memphis Showboats is on the phone with me and they're saying, "Hey, John, what would it do to understand that we're serious about signing you to a contract?" So my thing is, well, let me tell these guys something outrageous so they'll know that I really don't want to come up there and I'm okay with finishing the last 3 games of the season with Tampa Bay. So I said to Pepper Rogers and the GM at the time, I said, "Hey," I said, "man, if you guys got a check with $100,000 with my name on it," I said, "don't shake my hand when I get off the plane. Just present me with that, and I'll know that you mean business about signing me to a contract." And they said, "Okay, is there anything else?" So I said, "Well, I'll see you at 7 o'clock. So I get down there. The plane lands at 7 o'clock. Those guys come to me, hand me a check in the envelope, and I look at it, and it's got John Corker, 100 grand. And I say, "Well, I guess I'm going back to Tampa Bay." And so I'm a Memphis Showboat now. And man, the newspapers in Tampa Bay, they were irate, man. They were so frustrated with me for making that move. And it was like, well, what can I do? And then the league folds the next year. So you can kind of see, screw that up. You're trying to chase like that. So, but yeah, man, Reggie, I had a great time with that guy, man. That guy was the greatest Muhammad Ali that I had ever seen. I mean, he filled the locker room up with it every day.
John Williams, someone's giving you love.
Yeah, great. I like that. Thank you, Christopher.
Saying John Williams was solid.
Yeah.
Which is going to bring me into something else that I want to do because of sake of time. John, I'm going to get to you, I promise.
Hey, I would like to say something about Corker because
Sure.
we had to play against him when he was with the Showboat. And Corker could read everything our offensive line were doing, even the way they lined up. And so we line up, he goes, "The play's going over the other side. The play's going to the other side." I'm in my 3-point stance. I'm like, am I giving this away? I'm getting all paranoid. We line up. It's going to be a pass. It's going to be a pass. I'm like, I must be doing something. Yeah, Corker was scary. That was scary because I wasn't used to having somebody calling out where we're going to run the ball.
But guys, there were a lot of great defensive guys that didn't get credit in the USFL that were great linebackers. And to me, it was not just about Reggie White. It was about the Corkers. It was about the Plumbers. It was about these defensive guys, Lynn Matson, I remember, that did a lot of work, but never got the credit. Always the guys with the big names. But let me go into something before I go to John. Novo, you were very important in one of these games in the USFL. Let me see if you can remember this one, because you were the only one that created any offense for your team. Watch this.
Bojovic, 39 yards out. He's got the leg, and he's got the lead. Time out. Panthers, their third 49-yard field goal as time runs out of the half. Birmingham leading by a point, now finds itself down by 2. That is the end of the first half of professional football of the USFL in Birmingham, Alabama, with Michigan leading Birmingham 9-7.
First Monday Night Football game ever for the USFL. Do you remember it?
Oh, do I remember that one? Absolutely.
3 field goals, and you were the only offense that they had.
You know, and I got to tell you, that was the year, I think the year prior, Barry Bryant passed away in 82, and that was obviously in 83. And that was a big thunderstorm. There were lightning. And guys, I don't remember us going away. I mean, in the locker room during the lightning, I think we just kept playing. And it was a big rainstorm, the lightning. And I just remember a few guys say Barry Bryant is looking down on us. But also what's important in this game as well, Frankie, being from Central Michigan University, Ray Bentley, who was a rookie, he had 2 interceptions. As a matter of fact, the interception, the last interception in the fourth quarter, he intercepted the ball really to kind of clinch the win for us. But looking back for the first that first game and that first win, I mean, obviously it was looking back, it was pretty big for us because we lost 4 games in a row after that. But and this is another one that I always look back and I always talk about Coach Stanley, the brilliant move that he made, because we always knew that we had a great defense. We even had a great offense from the receiver perspective, running backs, quarterbacks. We just did not have that all line in place. And so I will never forget the move that Coach Stanley made with the three guys from Pittsburgh Steelers, Donbrook, McGriff, and Pennywell.
Well, we lost John Corker. I'm sure he'll be back. But finish your thought, Novo.
Yeah, so that right there, it's we went on when we got those guys from Pittsburgh. We went on a 6-game winning streak. Then we lost a game, and then we went through the whole thing, winning 5 or 6 more games with a championship. And so that, I mean, obviously every game was vital. I mean, they were very, very important games. And, I was even looking, somebody posted on Facebook when we were 5-4, we were still in 3rd place. Tampa Bay Bandits were ahead of us. And they had they were like 6-3. Philadelphia Stars, they were like only 1 game. They lost only 1 game. So, it's we went on that winning streak, and obviously we had the great team with great characters, and really everything's clicked for us. So,
and before we move into a couple of highlights with Oakland, because we know Oakland was the Michigan Panthers, we're gonna go a little over, guys, just a little. Bear with me, Matt. When the Panthers were on a 1-4 streak, 1-4 record in that losing streak, what did Coach Stanley say? What was his demeanor? What what was his outlook?
I'll never forget what happened. We were in the locker room, and he kind of paced back and forth, didn't say a lot, and looked up and said, "I'll never forget this," because like I said, we were 1-4. We had a lot of heat going on us, and he said, "Anybody here throw in the towel, wave the white flag, get up and leave right now. We're not going to have any faint hearts." He knew what we were doing was right, and he totally believed that we were so close. And he said, you got to have stout-hearted men, and anyone that wants to wave the flag, get up and leave now. But he said, we're going to go from this point on. He knew we were there, and he knew what the things that we were doing were right. And he never wavered. He never faltered. He has this confidence, and I think, like Derek said, his personality the team took on his personality. But he never wavered. He never faltered. His confidence, I think, was always there. And I think it rubbed off on the team that there was no doubt that we were going to win.
And guys, I want to show a couple more highlights because, again, I'm a highlight man, and I enjoy reminiscing the good old days. And you guys gave me so many great memories. All these videos, by the way, that you see, I've edited. I think I've edited over 500 videos. I'm not sure. I haven't counted, but let's go to this video. I don't know if it's Mr. Holloway or Mr. John Williams, but let's go to this video.
You have to switch and start doing things that you would normally do inside the 20-yard line, and it creates a problem for the offense.
You saw Penny has got 4 touchdown passes as a tackle lining of a tight end in his career. He is lined up but not eligible. He's pass blocking now on 3rd down. Hebert feeds the ball and touchdown. Derek Holloway catches the touchdown pass, and that is his 3rd of the year.
Well, you've got Carter and Banks, but when you have Derek Holloway coming across the middle, and he does not fear any man, and Hebert really puts this is a strike because he goes right down the middle. Look at Holloway reaches. No problem. Anthony Allen was covering. He couldn't stay with him.
And I wanted to show, I got one more. When you guys went to the West Coast, Mr. Holloway, we'll start with you. When you guys went to the West Coast, you had to play for a West Coast team because of the merger. Mr. Holloway disappeared. All right, Mr. Williams. How hard was it for you guys to go to the West Coast and kind of like uproot your lives almost because you were planted in Michigan? So what was that like?
It was a little stressful at first because I had 2 little kids. They were, I had one, and my wife then was pregnant, and she had him about 3 months into the season, my younger son. And so I was pretty busy. It was a hard move. One of the things that was kind of difficult was the merger of the 2 teams. People chose sides, and that didn't go well at the beginning.
And Mr. Holloway, what about you? What was the change like for you? Uprooting your life to the West Coast.
I didn't like it. I didn't want to go to Oakland. I didn't want to go have no training camp in Arizona. I think that's where we had training camp at. I didn't like it. But I did get a chance, like John said, it was 2 teams coming together, like the best players on both teams and it was tough. I didn't like the fact that I wasn't starting. They had technically Gordon Banks starting over me, but we ran so much 3 wide receiver that it was almost like I started the game and I got a lot of playing time, but got an opportunity to meet Fred Biletnikoff. Yeah, so that was one of the highlights of actually going to the West Coast and having the opportunity to meet him and hear some of his stories. Boy, you talk about some stories. He got some stories for you. So like I said, I didn't really like the merger, but we came together as a team we had an opportunity to win that last USFL championship game. Obviously, we fell short, but you know, at the beginning it was rough, like John said. It was really rough, and we came together because it had to stop being about the individuals and had to start being about the team and about winning. So once I think everyone got their feelings out of them, came out of their feelings, and start playing together. And that's when we started winning. And that's when we actually went down there. Corker's gone, but we came down there and beat the Memphis Showboats to actually go to the championship game on Memphis Field.
That's correct. And you can see that game on USFL Forever YouTube channel, the original channel. I just had to throw that plug in.
Right. So go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Oh no, I'm about done. Like I said, it was tough. Didn't want to go to Oakland, but made the best out of it.
Yeah. And Novo, how did you feel?
Well, you know, I gotta tell you, I will never forget that feeling, because I was at the Michigan Panther office in Rochester, Michigan, when I found out that we were merging with Oakland Invaders. And personally, Frankie, I'm gonna tell you, it's almost like losing a loved one. And I didn't like it. Three things. One is because the team, Michigan Panthers, we were like one big family with the players and the coaching staff. And then later on, you find out that taxes in California, California was a lot more expensive than Michigan. And so it cost us a lot of money. But also, of what Holloway was talking about, and I remember that game very well against Memphis Showboats, the playoff game, and seeing John Corker on the other side, and I do believe Mike Edwards, if I'm not mistaken, I think Mike Edwards was on the team as well. And we usually did not shake the hands with the opponents. At least I didn't before the game. After the game, we would talk to them. But seeing John Corker on the other side and Mike Edwards, I tell you, that was it was tough. I mean, because you kind of felt like here's your brother that you played with and win a championship with, and we were that tight-knit team. And I mean, obviously we talked, we hugged, and all that stuff before the game, after the game, and so it was different. It was very different feeling. Like I said, it's almost like leaving the players, leaving the coaches, and we had to adopt with the Oakland Invader players as well as the coaching staff. So it was.
And real quick, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you replaced. When you went to Oakland, you replaced, if I'm not mistaken, his name was Mike Shea, the kicker.
Kevin Shea.
Kevin Shea.
Yeah,
he was horrible.
Well,
no, listen. Let's be honest. I watched Oakland for the first 2 years. That guy was horrible. I mean, yeah. I don't know where did they get this guy from, a parking lot somewhere? I was willing to go. Honestly, it got to the point where when I was watching the Oakland games and I watched this kicker, I wanted to try out. That's how bad he was. So I believe you replaced him.
That's correct. Yep.
And what was that conversation like?
Well, the thing is, it's not like he was in a camp. Obviously, I was the kicker. You know, I was picked as the place kicker right from the start. So I don't know what happened to Kevin Shea, but I was the only kicker in the camp. Like what Holloway said, we were in Arizona, in Scottsdale. That's where we had, not Tempe, Arizona. That's where we had our training camp. So I was the only kicker on the team.
Yeah, he went to sell used cars.
That's job security right there.
What I want to do is, John, Williams, this is for you. By the way, Corker only could stay with us for an hour. I forgot he had texted me, let me know, hey, Frankie, I do have to leave, but I'll stay for most of the show. So I want to thank Mr. Corker, which I'm going to show a video highlight of him during the championship. But this one is for you, John. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you score here.
in motion. Doug Posen, the tight end. Pitch to the near side. Williams gets outside. Williams along the sideline. Williams may have a touchdown. Yes, he does. John Williams with his third rushing touchdown of the season. And on the first drive of the football game, the Oakland Invaders take it in for the score.
It's a toss to Williams. The tight end had been in motion to the side they're going. There are a lot of express players there, but there aren't many making tackles. It was a very desultory effort so far as the tackling was concerned, in my opinion. All through that drive, we see down near the goal line another tackle, a potential tackler, just not making the play. I believe number 23, Ed Scott, gets his arms around him and falls off, and they're going to have.
And guys, I wanted to show that highlight, John, because as I told you in the last show, you didn't get enough credit as a running back. But that's the type of plays, guys, that I'm talking about. The talent that this league had, even though you had the Herschel Walkers, the Reggie Whites, the Jim Kellys, the Steve Youngs, all these big names, guys like John Williams, Derek Holloway, Novo, even you. There was talent, even though they were not big names. And so your thoughts on how you felt where everybody was focused on the big names, yet you were the workhorses. John, let's start with you.
My question ties into your question, by the way.
Well, I asked it quicker. So go ahead, John.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I was never that type of person to really worry about other people's success. I guess I would say later on in life, I thought about it because when I was with the Oakland Invaders, I won an award that a lineman wins. I won the best blocker of the game, and I just. Me personally, I'm not answering the question totally, but
did you care at all? Did you care, or you just look? I'm doing my job.
No, I'm doing my job, but my little personal thing that I have about that, because Albert Bentley, he gained a 1,000 yards. Ken Lacey gained 1,000 yards, but they did not block as good as I blocked for them. And that will be the thing that I would say. And I blocked to win.
Mr. Holloway, what about you? Did you feel like all these big names, all the attention was on them, and we had all this great talent around us, around every team had some type of talent. Did you feel like, okay, everybody's focusing on the big names, the Fluties, the Kellys, the Youngs, the Reggie Whites, and on and on and on? How did you feel?
I didn't feel nothing about it really, because I played with two of the biggest names, AC and Bobby. So they were two of the biggest names to me, and they were my teammates. So I really didn't worry about, once again, who else was playing, where else. It just wasn't a factor. I've never been like that. I always play my game, do what I need to do. And again, like I said, I played with two of the biggest names in the USFL, so I was happy about that.
And Matt, what about your father? Novo, I'll get to you in a second, but what about your father? How did he deal with the fact that, hey, honestly, the Michigan Panthers made themselves stars. They really did, if you think about it. But how did your father, Jim, kind of keep the even keel, so to speak? Like, hey, guys, don't worry about, who's across the field. Just play your game type of thing. How did he handle it?
I'm just kind of like Derek said. I don't think they ever thought about that. Like, Dad has a lot of confidence and felt like his guys were the best. He chose them, drafted them. He knew exactly who he was getting when he drafted them. I went to camp with him, and I don't think Dad ever felt like we had less talent than anybody else. I think he knew that his players, he'd go to war with his players any day. He never considered Herschel or any of those guys. That wasn't any of the part of the deal. we had Derek pound for pound, the strongest player in the USFL. And, to me, Derek was just as good as AC anybody else. I mean, it wasn't like anybody was trying to get credit. We were a team. Like in John Williams, like one thing I remember about John is, we were 1-4 and we played, I think the turning point in our season in '83 was John Williams. We played against the Chicago Blitz and John had a fantastic day. I think we beat him 17-12. And I think looking back, that game is what propelled us for the championship. Really, the run that we had was beating George Allen at home, that first game, 17-12. And John Williams, I mean, he was the man that day. So I don't think Derek or John or Corker or anybody ever thought, anything about credit. We were just a team. We were going to go out there and whip their butt.
And Novo, how did you feel as far as all these big name stars and, you being a kicker? Of course, nobody respects the kicker, but how did you feel?
Well, I'm gonna have to agree with Derek because I gotta tell you, I mean, we were in it, and I personally being the place kicker, right? So it's not like I was judging myself, comparing myself to like Mazzetti or Tony Fritsch and what was Zion Anderson for Tampa Bay. I didn't even know that guy, but I knew of Tony Fritsch, but I was not comparing myself or trying to compete with them. All I was doing really focusing on doing my job and help the team win and perform to my ability. And really winning was the most important thing to me. And to touch up on what John Williams was talking about, the blocking, absolutely. I played with a lot of running backs, but I never seen anybody block like John. I also never seen anybody get the yards, those top 2-3 yards that we needed for the first down. And John was one of those hard-nosed running backs. And believe me, he blocked. I never seen anybody block like him. So
yeah, I agree. I think John Williams was the guy who didn't get enough credit for the work that he did behind the scenes. And so that's why, John, Derek, I appreciate you guys. I've watched you guys on video. I really appreciated your work. I just don't think you got enough credit for it. I know you guys were like, hey, we're a team. But sometimes there's nothing wrong with getting praise. Nothing wrong with it, as long as you earned it. And I believe you guys earned it.
And Frankie, you saw that highlight when AC scored the winning touchdown in a championship, and you saw the block that Derek threw for AC to get him into the end zone. And you even saw the highlight that you just played when Holloway caught that touchdown, where AC was trying to block the guy off Holloway. So one thing as a players, we were there for each other. It was not like we supported each other and we protected each other. So we always sacrifice for each other. Let's put it that way. So,
well, let me show something. I wanted to show John Corker this, but he had to leave. But maybe you guys remember this.
Sack man John Corker. Now, you told me that you're going to lay your ears back, John, and that you were actually going this time. First time they nullified you. Now this time you had a great game.
Hey, they contained me last time we played them, but this is a different field. It's a championship ball game. Champions got to play like champions. The Michigan Panthers, a champion organization. Al Tubman, Jim Stanley, Larry Collier and his special, all the way on down. All the guys, the number one guys. Number one, we came from 1-4. 1-4.
Tell me this now. Let's go back to 1-4. It was not a solid ball club back then, and you turned it around. And for you, your pro career, everything else, it was a comeback not only for you but for the entire team.
I tell you, we faced adversity all year long. 1-4 was one of the greatest times that we can build character on our ball club. We did it. We act like men. We prepared for this championship game like men, and we won it like men.
Your thoughts, guys?
JC sounded like Muhammad Ali.
I just love the quote at the end. We played like men, and just your thoughts as far as that time, and it was a big celebration. Your thoughts? Anyone could go first.
Well, I would go first, and I'm going to tell you, Frankie, the moment as a player, right? You always cherish the championship. That will live with us for the rest of our lives, and you can always call yourself a champion. And yes, we were the team full of character. We were the team that really will do anything to win. And we play that way every single game. And not to talk about Coach Stanley so much, but he built that character in us from the training camp down in Daytona Beach. And yeah, I mean, it's we believe in each other, we trusted each other, and we were committed. So when we took that field against Philadelphia Stars, they did beat us during the season, regular season, but there was no question that we were not going to win that game. I mean, everybody in our locker room, when we looked at each other, when we took the field, we believed we were going to come victorious.
Mr. Holloway?
It's about the same. It's when you look back, I mean, I don't know how many years ago it was, but when you think about it now, it's like, man, you know, we won the first USFL championship. Now they got a new league out there. They call themselves the USFL, and they're going to crown a champion, but it's never going to be the same, like we talked about last week. So,
well, it ain't going to be the Michigan Panthers because Jeff Fisher sucks at the coach.
Probably not. But you know, just the camaraderie. I mean, like I said, you showed that clip last week of me scoring the first touchdown. You know, that's something I'll never, ever forget. Hopefully, I'll never get Alzheimer's. So I'll never forget that. You could pull that video up, and once again, we were a team. When we lost as a team, and when we won as a team, and everybody did their job. And again, it was Coach Stanley, like I said, helped put that team together. The draft picks, like Novo said, the people that he picked, they did their job, and it was a great season, and I'll never forget it.
And I promise you, we're going to end with several videos once we're done here. John Williams, your thoughts? That championship, the celebration. By the way, Novo, I didn't see you. I looked in the video. They must have locked you out. I swear to God, guys, I looked for Novo in that video. I was like, I saw Bobby Hebert, I saw Corker, I saw the wide receivers, I saw defensive guys, I even saw the Water Boy. I mean, I swear to God, but I think Novo, you were locked out. But go ahead, John.
Okay, well, everything was great. I have something to share. We were destined to win that game. We were destined to have this team. We were destined to win the championship. We had a team that was very unusual. Like Novo, the first game we won, he kicked 3 49-yard field goals. We had 3 born-again Christian quarterbacks. Okay, and here's where it's going to get really kind of different. When I was growing up, I grew up in Michigan. I was born in Michigan. I was sleeping, and I felt a hand going through my pillow, touching me on my back. I looked up, and it was a hand. I felt something. It was a hand. And on the hand, it had a ring. And I punched the hand, and the hand withdraw, and a beam went underneath my bed. And what I saw was a gold ring with white around a rock, a dark colored rock. And so I was okay. And then I looked under I said to myself, okay, the thing might have went away. And so I said, I'm going to look under the bed. If it's under the bed, then I'm going to get really scared. So I looked under the bed, and the thing was under the bed. And so I got up and I just ran into my mom and dad's room. Okay, check this out. Our championship ring, it has 3 types of minerals: gold, diamond, and a stone. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. It has 12 diamonds, the 12 tribes of Israel. My number was 40. I say Yahweh Shai because it's a very, very old Hebrew, but whom you call Jesus. was in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. It has 1983. That was the year I got baptized. Now, I said to myself, okay, it has all those things. I saw Michigan Panthers. I didn't think anything of it. About 20 years later, I said, let me look up the word Michigan. Let me look up the word Panther. So I looked up the word Michigan. It means great water. In heaven, there's the living water. And then I look up Panther. It means unblemished. Unblemished. Our Savior was unblemished. There's one more thing. We won it the first year, and the Hebrews gave their first crops to sacrifice for their Yah, which is God. So everything on this ring, everything but the USFL had a spiritual meaning in the Bible.
So for you, it was a connection.
Yes.
Wow.
That's a big connection.
Yeah. And Matt, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Oh, and so I was always wondering, one guy basically said what it was. He said it was an angel showing me something in the future. And so I ended up about 2 months ago reading some Daniel, and it was about this king, and he needed a dream revealed. And the guy revealed the dream to him, and he said that what he had saw was the revealer gave him that dream to reveal what's going to happen in the future.
And so, in your eyes, that ring means something to you. It like you look at it every day, or?
No, I don't look at it every day. Shoot, for the most part, not most part, but a lot of times I put it in the bank safety deposit box, just go on with life. But it has a meaning. This ring is greater than any other ring in any other sport, because this was by the Most High.
And well, thank you for sharing that, John. But Matt, I need to go to you. I think you were a kid, right, when that happened?
I was 15, 16 years old. But
you're a kid.
Yeah, a kid. But
so what was it like to celebrate, even though Novo was locked out? What was it like to celebrate with your dad in a championship?
Well, it was just great. I mean, like I said, we're a family. You had said something, I think, first week, Frankie, about you were really little, and you made some comments that were kind of touching about what the Panthers meant to you guys, what meant to you, and throughout your life. And I was so fortunate to have my dad as my dad. I've been very blessed to have a great mom and dad, and he taught me so much. And this team taught me a lot too, and when we were 1-4, I mean, every day it was in the newspaper, going to fire my dad. And, I saw my dad never waver and believed in this team, believed in what we were doing. And so many times in my life as a man, I draw back to that team of the Michigan Panthers because sports teaches you about life, and I'm sure every one of you can relate, but life's not always easy, and you get knocked down. And, I draw strength from this team, and I call them my family. The Panthers, my family, because, you don't quit. It doesn't matter how hard you get knocked down. You dust yourself off, you get yourself back up. And that's what the Panthers did. I mean, everybody had written us off 1-4, but no one quit on that team. And in my life, I have drawn back to that time and time. I started my own company, in the first 10 years, I didn't think I was going to make it. And I'd call my dad, and he would say, just keep sawing wood. Eventually that tree will fall. And I would hang up. But, that's how Dad taught. He had ability to listen to you, not tell you what to do, and then say something, make you think, And that team was so special that words can't describe it. But that Michigan Panther team in '83, I draw life's lessons from that, that life has thrown us curveballs, knocks us down, but you never quit. You never throw in the towel. You never surrender. And I really think that's why, I've been successful the hard way, is because I learned that from my dad. I learned that from this team. These guys were hard-nosed men that never quit, that sacrificed, and like John said, real men, and I'll never forget that about these guys. And they taught me that.
Well, I want to show something real quick. What did your father think when they got Novo and he saw this?
That dog wouldn't hunt.
that picture was on Twitter. I swear to God, that picture was on Twitter, and the caption read, "This looks like a murderer." I swear to God, it's on Twitter. You can look it up online. Novo, I don't know, dude, but you were trying to act sexy there, so I don't want to speak for you, but what the hell?
Hey, oh my God, you had to bring that up, Frankie. I cannot believe you. By the way, oh my God, I cannot even talk about back in those days. That was from 1981, 82, whatever that photo was taken. But that was a style, Frankie. Sideburns, the mustache, and by the way, you see the afro? I had an afro back then.
Yeah, sure, but we can laugh about it now. But even back then, it looked weird.
You know what? There was not much smile. Like I smile now a lot. Back then, you had to show that toughness.
Well, guys, I wanna let you know how much I appreciated this. I hope we do this someday in the future again. Keep in touch, and because somebody made a statement. Since John Turner's wearing the Houston Gamblers shirt, half of the gamblers are gone, meaning deceased. And so I always want to make sure that, we can stay in touch and we can actually make sure that we still relive these memories that we still have while we're on this earth. But I wanted to say just thank you. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for everything. I was bullied when I was a child, just so you know. And the USFL made me believe that I can stand up for myself. And that's the damn truth. And that's what it meant to me. In high school, I was a nerdy freshman, sophomore. But when I got to late in my junior year, senior year, I started dressing better. I started, being more bolder, speaking up more, because the USFL gave me that. Because if you can go up against the big bully, which is the NFL, as far as I'm concerned, you can go up against anything. And so thank you for those memories. Any last thoughts? We can start with John.
Hey, I enjoyed this, and I enjoyed all you guys. I enjoy you, Matt. There's remember the birthday cake, Matt?
Yes.
No, and I enjoyed your dad as a coach.
Thank you, John.
Matt, your words?
Like I said it earlier. These guys mean so much to me. They are my family. They will always be my family. And just love them all and wish them nothing but health and happiness. And thank you for everything, gentlemen.
Novo?
Frankie, first of all, thank you for bringing us together, and I appreciate that Derek helped you out to put this together and to bring us all together, because I tell you, almost 4 years later, Frankie, this unity and the feelings that we still have for each other, and I wish I could see these guys one more time, so at least we can laugh, we can hug each other, and we can talk about the good old days. But that feeling is still with me, and I'm sure it is with everybody else. So, that's something that I will cherish, and I do appreciate everybody, and I appreciate you putting this together.
I appreciate you guys. Just so you know, that championship game a year ago was only at 60,000 views, and today it's almost at 160,000. So a lot of people watched that championship game, the first one. And the second and third one, but mainly that first one. It's great memories. Mr. Holloway?
Yes, once again, it's great seeing everyone, hearing from everyone. I got in touch with John through his nephew. That's how I got in touch with John a few months back. And I had been in touch with Novo a little bit. And I've been in touch with Bobby. And actually I got in touch with Matt. I was searching for another ring. So but anyway, that's another story. But it's good to see everybody. Coach Stanley was the best. That's basically all I can say. Coach Stanley was the best, and once again, wherever you saw Coach Stanley, you saw Matt. And it's good seeing everyone. Thanks for putting this together. Maybe we can do it again sometime. I could try to wrestle up a few more people, and we can have.
I really
nice
hope Bobby can make it next time, because I know the first time he had tech issues. But if Bobby can make it next time, we will an AC. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Frankie.
Let us know the next time. I'll see what I can do.
Thank you, and
thank you for putting this together.
Not a problem. The pleasure was all mine. John Turner, go ahead.
Okay, I won't ask questions because it sounds like you really want to wrap it up, and I know these guys have been on here for a while. I really thank all you guys for coming on here. Your energy is great. The information is great. I definitely would love to see you guys back together on this deal with more guys or not. You know what I mean? You guys have just been fun to listen to. It's been a fantastic learning experience for me. I will say a couple of things. Mr. Williams, I'm willing to bet I put a research project together. In 1985, this guy done played for Oakland, Dallas, and Seattle in 1 year. He played like 31 professional football games. I'm willing to bet that's a record in professional football.
Plus the Dallas Cowboys at that time had the longest camp. They had a 6-week camp.
So I'm willing to bet you played the most football in one calendar year than any player that's ever played the game. I kind of looked at the home and away games for all three teams. I said, Jesus, this guy must have the most miles on his ass of any player for one single season in the history of the game. And playing a position that only gets 750 impact collisions per career. Congratulations, sir. And you played a lot longer after that.
Thank you.
Novo, Derek, you guys, hell of a voyage to both of you. 5-6 years later, you meet back up in Detroit once again for the Detroit Drive. I'd love to hear about the first time you guys had dinner, drinks, finally getting to meet back up with each other after such a gap from, playing with each other the previous time. And Mr. Stanley, towards the end of your dad's career, you got one of my all-time favorite coaches, Dennis Green. And I'm guessing he was a part of bringing him into Arizona. If you guys can come back, another time, I'd love to hear if your dad was a part, since he was the vice president of, personnel for the Cardinals. I love Dennis Green. I'd love to hear if he was a part of that selection, bringing him in and things like that, because I've always thought he was just another great guy to just enjoy rooting for. So thank you guys for coming on. I'll hand it back to Frankie. No further questions. The plaintiff rests.
Yeah, you've been rested a long time ago. Guys, I don't know what happened to Novo. I guess his phone must have disconnected or something. But I want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you, Mr. Holloway. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Thank you, Mr. Stanley. You too, John Turner, and Novo, and John Corker. And I hope we can do this in the future. And not necessarily has to be Michigan Panthers. It could be a mixture of other players as well. But I want people to remember you guys. I want people to remember the true USFL, and that you guys were the first, period. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'm going to end the show, everybody, with these 3 highlights. So thank you.
And you guys' number. I'll be in touch with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good night. And I'm going to show these videos.
Holloway is back in. He's had an upset stomach, but he's back in the ball game now. That's Carter in motion. is wide open. Touchdown. The smallest man on the field. Little Derek Holloway. Lush comes up, shows blitz, and he's coming. Heats on, Hebert gets it away, Carter's there, first down, he's loose, he's got some help, he's going for the corner, touchdown! Whoa!
Now you would think by the expression on Jim Stanley's face that you saw there,
Philadelphia had scored.
that it was a fourth down play and they lost the ball.
Of the Michigan Panthers, Alfred Tallman for the presentation of the trophy.
Alfred, this is your trophy. We've come a long way, but nobody a longer way than the Michigan Panthers. To you and to Jim Stanley and this marvelous crew, my congratulations.
Chet, on behalf of the Michigan Panthers football team and all these guys out here, the greatest in America, the greatest football players ever, thank you very much. We love it. We'll take it home and we'll take good care of it.
As the champagne flows, the people in the Michigan dressing room start to go a little bit crazy.